Well, they're undefeated at 4-0, so why are they sitting near the bottom of the SEC power rankings? Find out where Mississippi State lands next.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. My name is Jaren Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got a fun show for you today because it's a different show. In the second segment, I was joined by Eric Cain of On Vols, and we previewed the game. We gave our game predictions, which Landon and I will again do on Friday's episode like we always do. We talked about the injury report, so if you were curious where the injuries fell, we talked about that, and we just broke down what we feel like for both teams. So stick around for that. And then, of course, it is Thursday, so we always give our upset of the week. But first, let's start out with the SEC Power Rankings. This is something that we do every single week. But this one comes from Sports Illustrated. They have Mississippi State at number 12. So is that too high, too low, or just right?
I think it's about right now, especially when you look at, the teams ahead of them. You think, we started 4-0, we should be higher. But, Auburn's 3-1. And in the AP voting, right above Mississippi State in that as well. Alabama, 2-1. Again, strong start to the year. LSU, Vanderbilt, Missouri, they're all undefeated too. So, when you start at the bottom, it takes a little while before you can really start to climb up.
Yeah, and it has a great line because it says, this team is much better than anticipated and deserves a higher ranking, but who falls below them? So that's kind of the overall feeling about it.
Yeah, if you wanted to make the argument that they're undefeated, Auburn has a loss, those should be flipped. But I'll listen to that argument. But that's not one that I'm going to be, stand on the table for. So 11, 12 is kind of the point. Kind of where it is because you get up higher. Tennessee's won losses to Georgia. Texas has won losses to Ohio State. Everyone, almost everyone else is undefeated ahead of them. What undefeated team would you put below them?
Yeah. The one that I would kind of go with in ESPN's FPI, they also have, if you go by overall record prediction, they have Mississippi State at 12. But if you go by their FPI rankings, Mississippi State's still 15, just ahead of Kentucky. But I don't mind Auburn being ahead because, again, Auburn was the team before that I said was the sleeper. And I thought, they actually impressed me in their loss to Oklahoma, which is kind of weird to say. Alabama, again, they've looked great since the Florida State game, but we'll see this weekend. They played Georgia. Did they play great because they played bad teams, or did they play great because they righted the ship? I was kind of surprised that LSU at number 9, and I understand the Clemson win does not look that impressive now, and so I understand. But they're the number 4 team in the country. They should be in at least top 5 in the power rankings.
They should be top 4 in their own conference.
Yeah, exactly. But Vanderbilt, again, they beat Vanderbilt and Missouri are very similar. They both beat South Carolina, and that's why they're as high as they are. But the thing is, we don't know what South Carolina is. They have them number 14 in the power rankings in this one. Coming into the year, we thought South Carolina was good, but are they actually good? We don't know that. And, Vanderbilt beat them 31-7, but Sellers went down when it was 14-7. So is that a different game if he stays? I think Vanderbilt still wins, but I don't think it's now a 31-7 game. So I feel like Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State are all pretty equal. And then Ole Miss is another one. What are they up there for? Who have they beaten? And I'm not saying Ole Miss isn't a better team than Mississippi State. I'm just saying through week 4 of the season, heading into week 5, Mississippi State has the better win for sure.
Yeah, they definitely do. And Ole Miss has not been that impressive. Chambliss has been very impressive in his starts, but the team as a whole hasn't really impressed me. I don't think Arkansas is a great team, and they barely.
Yeah, they won that by 6, and they beat Kentucky by 7.
Right. They have it. Their 2 best wins are over the teams that they have, ranked 13th and 16th.
Yeah.
in this power ranking. So I think that's kind of a brand thing. There were expectations put on that team going into the season, and they haven't done anything to say they're not that good yet.
Yeah, and the thing that it says on this, it said Ole Miss is penalized for playing one-score games with Arkansas and Kentucky, so they curb stomp Tulane. How does that, how does the beating of Tulane and beating them by that much make up for barely beating two of the teams that you have ranked 13th and 16th in your power rankings? And that's, again, I think Tulane's getting credit for being what we know of Tulane previous years, but is Tulane any good this year? And I know you had them as your upset, but again, you don't know much about them yet, Tulane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know if they're any good.
Yeah, and if they were on this power rankings, they'd probably be 13th, 14th, or 15th. You know, if you slotted Tulane into this, they're in that spot too. So why do you get credit for beating someone handily that you were supposed to beat?
Yeah. And I get if your argument back could be, well, Mississippi State's other 3 wins are against 3 of the worst teams in college football. That's fair. But I just think they have the best win.
Yeah.
I could argue they have the best win of all 3, Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Ole Miss. I'm definitely saying it's a better win than Vanderbilt and Ole Miss, and just because I'm differentiating the South Carolina win, because Missouri at least beat them with Sellers, and Vanderbilt didn't. I mean, again, they were winning, and I think they do win the game, but I
think it's a 1-score game. I mean,
it's a close game, and then it's at home at South Carolina. Maybe South Carolina fuels off that and gets the job done, but yeah, I think they need to be clumped in with those teams. And hey, if you want to say, okay, well, Ole Miss is, 10, Ole Miss is 9, Missouri's 11, and Vanderbilt's or Missouri's 10, Vanderbilt's 11, and Mississippi State's 12. That's fine with me. Yeah. I just think they should be clumped in together because I don't see much of a difference between those 4.
No, yeah, I agree with that completely. They haven't done anything to separate themselves yet, but that's also kind of where everyone is after 1 month. No one's really setting themselves apart yet.
Yeah. And again, I just want to make it clear, I am someone that results on the field matter way more than your perception of a team. So through week 4, nothing has separated them. Yeah. Do I think those teams are better teams than Mississippi State? Yeah, I do. But through week 4, the on-field results, nothing separates them.
Not that much different.
Yeah, exactly. All right, coming up next, Eric Cain from On Vols joins the show. Don't go anywhere. Well, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Mississippi State, I'm going to go with Isaac Smith. He delivered in a massive way. I talked about it earlier on Monday, so your everydayers will remember this. When we did our top dog of the week, he had the massive interception to start the second half and kind of fuel that run to help Mississippi State pull away from Northern Illinois. I paired him with Jordan Mosley because he had the big catch to set up the touchdown right before half to put him up 21-10, I believe. Then the interception happened. Then Mississippi State kicks a field goal. So Isaac Smith, he always comes through when the pressure is on. No hesitation, no delay. If you've been watching week after week, even dating back to last season, his performance wasn't a fluke. He's on a massive, massive streak. And just like Isaac Smith delivered for Mississippi State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. And the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I know a lot of people, they love using FanDuel because it fits however they like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Crossing it over here, Locked On Vols meets Locked On Mississippi State here for this segment. I am Eric, and joined by Jaren here at Mississippi State. And exciting game coming up this weekend, man. Tennessee on the road, Mississippi State 4-0, SEC opener. Probably the biggest game at home. Obviously, in 2 weeks, Arizona State was huge, but this is probably the biggest home game in quite some time, I would imagine, for Mississippi State, right?
Yeah, no, it's massive, especially with the 4-0 start. I think it's the first 4-0 start since like 2014 and 2013. They're doing the big whiteout game, so it's going to be a crazy fun game. Obviously, the Arizona State was a big one, but once you got past that, this is even bigger than that, and especially with the start of SEC play. And two very similar style teams in terms of how they run their offense and stuff, so it should be a lot of fun.
You know, a lot of people have been making that a talking point this week, and they spent time together at UCF. Quarterbacks coach Levy was OC for Heupel and all that. I think I don't maybe want to say it gives the advantage, but I think it helps the defenses even more. Offenses are just going to kind of go out there and do their thing, but these defenses they see it in practice every day. They saw it in camp repeatedly. Yeah. They know the tempo. I think this is going to help both defenses out, maybe even more than the offenses.
Yeah, and the big part that you mentioned, I think, is the tempo, because that's the thing I think that surprises a lot of teams if they're not used to it. But these two defenses should be very used to it because of what they see every single day. Now, they don't play teams that always run tempo, but at least they see it in practice. But yeah, and you know, we were kind of talking before we started recording, but the funny thing about Tennessee and Mississippi State is they get talked about as this high-powered offense, and you think it's all quarterback-led, but it's really running back-led and how much they like to run the football.
Yeah, no doubt. Tennessee's got really a two-headed monster. They'll play three, but Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas are kind of the lead two backs, and Tennessee's averaging well over 200 yards a game. I mean, they've had 200. They've had over 200 yards a game in every game except the Georgia game. Star Thomas has been really good, man. Physical runner, has got a nice spin move. Deshaun Bishop is not the biggest guy, but he's like that guy that's very patient, finds a crease and just hits it hard. And Peyton Lewis, the third guy, who will get some run. He's probably the better all-around looking of the three, and I think he's got the highest potential. And he's a physical runner as well. So Tennessee runs the football well. Everything's built off the run. For Mississippi State, I am so intrigued by Fluff Bothwell. I mean, love the name. He's 230 pounds. He's a load. And then, of course, you got Booth back as well. It sounds like Mississippi State is running the football very effectively this season.
Yeah, no, they're led by the running game. And that's something that Landon, my co-host, and I talked about all offseason is this needs to be a run-heavy team, especially because Booth had a really good season last year, ended the year really strong. He got to come back when they didn't expect originally. And then, obviously, you had Bothwell, who was one of the top running backs in the transfer portal as well, and he is 271 yards, 4 touchdowns, and almost 6 yards a carry. And he finally had his big breakout game because we kind of been waiting for him to kind of show that potential. And last game, 17 carries, 101 yards, and then the game before that, he even had 93 yards. So he's starting to rack up the yardage. And Booth, I feel like they've kind of been managing him more, just knowing that SEC play was around the corner. He played a lot in the first 2 games, hasn't played as much lately. So I think this is the game that you're going to see both of those in heavy doses.
Both teams going to revolve around the run game, obviously, but quarterbacks make a big difference. I want to hear about Blake Shapen here in a moment. I'll speak on Aguilar. Everybody knows the offseason. Nico leaves. What was Tennessee going to do? Oh, they get this scrub. Oh, it's going to be awful. It's turned out pretty well so far. He's got a big test. First time playing in an environment like this for Joey Aguilar, so I think that's a focal point for sure. But he's been phenomenal. Deep ball's been great, completing 58% of those, has 8 touchdowns of 20 yards or more, which is really impressive. I think his presence more than anything. I mean, his demeanor just stays level, never too high, never too low. He's been wrapped up in the backfield a couple of times. His escapability has been really good. Eyes downfield, completing passes. He's kind of again, Nico had the better intangibles, but I mean, as far as a fit and kind of married into the system, Aguilar's been fantastic. He's been so much more than anyone bargained for at this point in time. Georgia game showed us, I mean, Tennessee's offense, the passing game with Joey Aguilar, I mean, they can beat anybody in the country with the way that he played that day. So it's been really, really solid. Blake Shapen came there last year from Baylor, started off the season hot, injured, back, looking like his old self, and he's got some pretty good numbers as well.
Yeah, no, he's playing really, really good this year, and just he's been that senior veteran presence, completing 67% of his passes, almost 900 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 picks, and he's just been kind of the steady force for the offense. And when we saw last year when he went down, the offense kind of went downhill, and that's just because you need that veteran presence back there, and he's able to kind of calm some people down. He was massive in the Arizona State game. That was a game that I talked about the running game. They didn't have much success running the football against Arizona State, and so he had a lot on his shoulders. and he rose to the occasion. Now, he's coming off maybe his worst game because he missed some of the deep throws against Northern Illinois, but how much of that is maybe they're overlooking the opponent, we'll see. But because that's one thing that I've been impressed by him the most this year, because Landon and I talked about this offseason, we weren't sure how good he was at throwing the deep ball because, one, he has been hurt a lot, and so you haven't really seen him play a lot. But two, Mississippi State didn't really have the receivers to stretch the field last year, whereas this year they do, and he's been excellent at it overall.
Yeah, he's playing some improved football, and I actually liked the quarterback last year, the true freshman. I know he's not there anymore, but anytime you lose a veteran, even though he was a newcomer, it's easy to see your season kind of go downhill. Mm-hmm. Let's look at defenses real quick. I think Tennessee's defense, elite in 2024, was talked about by me as well. I mean, I'm right here, hand up, about being elite again here in 2025. So far, that's not been the case. They're so much better than what they've played. We'll hit on injuries here in a moment. They've been just ravaged by injuries so far this season, but giving up too many in the pass game. I think they're rushing the quarterback pretty well. I don't think linebackers have played up to their potential. In synopsis, I think Tennessee's defense is so much better than the way it's playing right now, and I'm intrigued to see if they kind of take a step going up against, again, an offense that they see all the time. Players look out for Joshua Josephs on the edge. Colton Hood is one of the best cornerbacks in the country right now. Actually, CBS Sports has put out a way too early mock draft. He's a first rounder, which is crazy to me because he was number 3 on the depth chart coming into the season. I'm intrigued to see that step that Tennessee's defense can take. Mississippi State, oh my gosh, historically bad defense last year. They're about to see their first test truly in Tennessee's offense, but what an improved group on that side of the football for Jeff Levy.
Yeah, no, that's been the biggest surprise because we thought the offense would take a jump because usually they do. When you have a coach that's an offensive coach, usually that second year you take the jump. But the defense taking the big jump that it has been the surprise. And, the pass coverage has been really, in my opinion, the biggest surprise. They allow only 129 yards a game. And, they played Sam Levitt in Arizona State, which has Levitt and obviously Tyson, who is a very formidable foe, and held them to only 82 yards passing. On the downside, they're only allowing 133 yards, but Arizona State had 251 yards rushing that game. And so that's where I think Tennessee could take advantage. A big reason is, and we'll get to it more in the injuries, but they've lost their best defensive lineman for the year. But for some guys to kind of know, Isaac Smith obviously is the one to note the most. The safety, 24 tackles, 1 interception this year. Nick Mitchell, that linebacker, 21 tackles as well. The worry is they don't really get a lot of sacks and they don't force a lot of TFLs because the guy that was doing that is out for the year. So we'll see what ends up happening.
Mention injuries. Go ahead on that note. Best defensive lineman, who's his backup and how big of a drop-off is it?
Yeah, Will Whitson was obviously a major loss for them. And that was a transfer, I believe, from Coastal Carolina that they were high on coming into the year, and he was just playing great football. He still leads the team with 2 sacks and 5 tackles for loss, despite going down in that Arizona State game. He's going to be replaced by Deontay Anderson, kind of, a lot of several different people, but Deontay Anderson has kind of been the one that has stepped up for him, but he only has 1 sack and 1 tackle for loss. So it's quite a bit of a drop off going with the backup because Whitson was, again, this was a team last year that was bad at tackles for loss and sacks. They've been bad again this year, but the one bright spot was Whitson, which they didn't have a bright spot last year, and then you lose him. So it's been a big loss.
Real quick, what about the offensive line? Several different combinations. Are they healthy now? What's that look like?
Yeah, no, the offensive line, that's another one that's been very impressive to me because overall they've been fairly healthy. They lost Blake Steen in the first game. But I believe he's back. And so they've been fairly healthy. I even saw a post the other day by PFSN that they had the 8th ranked offensive line in college football. I don't know if I'd go that far, but they've been much improved off last year because, like the defense, they were historically bad. And in 1 year, Phil Lodeholt's done a great job with them.
Tennessee injury report, down your 2 starting cornerbacks. One is Jermon McCoy, who's being mocked as a first-rounder, All-American last year, coming off a torn ACL. He hadn't played yet this year. The other is Ricky Gibson, who I thought with a good year is probably NFL bound. He has been out since the first half of the opener. So Colton Hood, who transferred from Colorado, who, again, I mentioned earlier, is actually being mocked by CBS Sports as a first-rounder now. He's been phenomenal. I mean, PFF loves the guy. What a godsend he's been, because of the injuries. So he's at one corner. True freshman Ty Redmond, who, this is now game 5. He's played every snap at corner since the opener. Whenever Gibson went down, he's at the other corner. So depth has been an issue at corner right now. Defensive line, Jackson Moy should be back for Tennessee in this game. Defensive tackle, he's missed. I think he played like the first 3 snaps of the season, then got hurt. Still without David Hobbs in the interior. So cornerback and defensive tackle has been interesting for Tennessee this year because of injuries. Ethan Davis, number 2 tight end that plays a ton. We'll see if he plays in this game. He missed last week. Tennessee was also without another defensive end in Tyree West, but I think he's going to be back as well. So getting healthier, but injuries on the defensive side of the football has been big for Tennessee. Last thing out the door, game picks. Tennessee, according to our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, I believe last time I checked it was like 8.5. That total about 62.5. I like Tennessee to win. I think it's certainly not going to be a cakewalk. I think the environment's going to be awesome. Tennessee, like a lot of teams in the SEC, tough to win on the road. But I do like Tennessee to cover the spread, but I like the under in this game. I think Tennessee's just going to have too much for Mississippi State, 31-20. But I am expecting a fun environment and a good football game. What say you?
Yeah, I think it could be a close game for much of it, and I could see Tennessee kind of pulling away late. My worry is, again, the run game that Tennessee possesses and the struggle that we've seen Mississippi State have defending the run, and I don't think they're going to be able to create TFLs or any kind of sacks. And so I actually have 34-17 Tennessee, but I could see this being like a 7 or 10 point game going to the 4th and then kind of a pull away at the end. But yeah, I think Tennessee will end up kind of running away with it just because I just think they're much improved. Y'all should have beat Georgia. I thought y'all were going to beat Georgia. I picked y'all to beat Georgia, so I was hoping you'd beat Georgia. But I said on one of our shows earlier this week that I think y'all are poised for another college football playoff run, and I think y'all will win.
Should be a great game, great environment. My first time covering a game at Mississippi State, so I'm really looking forward to that. And to get you set leading up to kickoff, check out Locked On at Mississippi State for a scout on the Bulldogs, and, of course, Locked On Vols for a scout on the Vols. Jaren, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.
Yep, thank you. And this episode is brought to you by Mazda's, moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. One of the things that I thought, one of the players that I thought moved the game forward was Isaac Smith. I mentioned him earlier in the DoorDash credits, but here, I'll throw out another one. I'll put in Jordan Mosley. Again, he seems like he just comes up with a big play every single time. Only had 1 catch for 45 yards, but it was a massive play in that game. Again, the offense couldn't really get anything going. They only had 14 points at halftime. He catches on the big 45-yard pass, gets them down to like the 2 or 3 yard line. They punch it in right after that. And then that's when they go on the streak of scoring 4 straight possessions. So I think Jordan Mosley ultimately moved the game forward for Mississippi State and kept them undefeated heading into conference play. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just want to give a quick thank you again to Eric Cain for joining the show. Fun conversation we had there. Lots to talk about. But, Landon, we got to get into our upset of the week. Yeah. So, again, what team is actually going to win instead of be upset?
So I'm going to try to go a little less bold and maybe get one that's not a 5-score win for the team I picked to get upset. I'm taking Colorado over BYU.
Okay.
I don't have any great reason for that. It's just BYU has done nothing to make me think they haven't impressed me yet.
Yeah.
I think Colorado is a very talented team, and they're still trying to put it together. And it's at Colorado. That's a great atmosphere. So I'm just betting on Coach Prime.
I like that one. Even though they did get blitzed by BYU last year in the bowl game, but it's different teams for both of them. When I went through this, I don't like picking like Oregon and Penn State, for example.
That was the other one I thought about, but that one's just too.
Well, yeah, when you have 2 great teams, of course, either one can win. I want to go a little more bold than that, because I do think Oregon's going to win that game, even though Penn State is favored. But I wanted to stay away from that one. There's another one. I think it was one of the earlier games. I think, yeah, Arkansas, Notre Dame. That was one I actually considered. I also considered TCU upsetting Arizona State, but then I was like, hey, that'd be bad for Mississippi State. So I actually want Arizona State to win that one. I went with Illinois over USC. The game's at home.
Okay.
USC is favored by 6.5. The reason why I went with that is Illinois is a good football team that just had an awful game last game. And I think that a lot of people are going into that game thinking they're not very good. Like their ranking was a fluke. They're not going to win this game. They're going to get beat. And they're just going to go with USC and Lincoln Riley in that game. But USC hasn't proven anything this year. They're 4-0. They do have one of the top offenses in college football, but that's because they played Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Purdue, and Michigan State to start the year. And Purdue they beat by 16, and they beat Michigan State by 14. So it's not like these decisive wins.
Right.
And in both those games, I mean, Georgia Southern scored 20, Purdue scored 17, Michigan State scored 31 points. So the defense isn't playing great either. I just think I truly think Illinois is actually a good football team. I don't think they're a top 10 team like they were ranked, and I don't think they're quite college football playoff caliber. But if they went like 10-3 or something like they did last year, I could definitely see it again. I mean, they returned a ton of players. So I think a lot of people are going to be down on Illinois after the loss, but they get the game at home, and I think they're going to show people that they are still a good football team.
Yeah, that was another one I looked at, but I'm not sure Illinois is good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not sure of that. Seeing them at number 9 blew my mind before that game. Seeing them after that game, I'm even more confused about why they're still ranked at all.
Yeah, not 9, but I think they're closer to 18, 19, personally. Like at the end of the year, I think they'll be around 18 or 19. Yeah. I mean, they went 10-3 last year, and they returned almost everyone. Now, Clemson did too, and they're terrible. Yeah, so you never know. But I was shocked at Indiana controlling the running game. Like it was like 312 rushing yards to 2, which is insane to think about happening to a Brett Bielema team. And I just think they're going to bounce away. I just think they got hit by a buzzsaw. And when you're on the road and you start falling down early and mistakes are happening, sometimes it just unravels for you. It happens.
Yeah, it's true. They might turn it around, but that game could have just destroyed them mentally too. I mean,
well, and that's fair too. And that's fair too. And that's where you hope the veteran football team can overcome that that mental hangover. But all right, it's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. I'm Jaren. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check those out. Tomorrow, we'll break down the offense and defense of Tennessee and give our game predictions, or Landon will, because you heard my prediction in the second segment. But maybe I changed my mind. I could have a change of heart by then. But all right, until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.